I want to show you how to add gig info and rates for your act. So we're going to use this example band, the Paddy Pop Rock Band. It's a three-piece band, we'll say, from Dublin. So we click on gig info and rates up here in the header menu. Now, this is a very important section for acts. It allows you to set your rates so that you show up in searches for different types of gigs. It also allows you to add the other pricing logistics info applicable to your act, and vitally, parts of it affect your overall public ratings. So the page is divided up into sections. These lower sections is where we're going to add the pricing for specific types of gigs. And this essential section that we're going to do first, it contains criteria that's common to all types of gigs. So we'll just quickly run through this. So do we provide a PA system? Yes. Don't provide lighting. The standard gig we'll play for is 2 hours. We will play longer, but the longest we'll play for is 3 hours. We'll take a break, let's say 15 minutes. Setup and takedown time, there's 3 people in the band, so those times look okay. The next section then is expenses. The system calculates how far you need to travel to a gig, how long it'll take you to get there and back, and it'll even calculate whether or not you need to charge overnight expenses. But you need to let it know how much to charge and when to charge it. All of these costs, as well as any other extra fees you charge, are added to your standard gig rates and displayed on your profile as a total fee. This means potential bookers instantly get to see accurate pricing, and it also saves you the hassle of having to work them out for yourself. So if we look at the first one here, distance from base when travel expenses are applied. So this is after what distance from your base or your home do you start to charge extra for fuel and for food and that type of thing. So in the case of this band, they're prepared to travel 50 kilometers. Everything after that, they're going to add an additional expense. So they're going to say it's an extra 50 cent per kilometer, and that 50 cent applies going out and coming back. If you've got different members in an act and they all travel independently of each other, is just add in the unit cost for each member. So in the case of this act, there's 3 members in it, and if they all drove separately to the gig, it would be 150 because they want to get 50 cent each per kilometer. So I'm just going to put this back to 0.5. The next field is a maximum distance you're prepared to travel. So this is how far from your base are you prepared to go to a gig. So in the case of this act, they're saying countrywide, but you can set a limit. Where you do set a limit, you won't appear in searches for gigs that are taking place in venues outside of that radius, or roughly outside of that radius. And then the last piece here is the overnight subsistence rate. This is where the system calculates whether or not it needs to add additional costs to cover a hotel or a B&B. So the first thing that it needs to do is it needs to establish what time you would expect to be back at your base or back home after a gig. So we put this in as bedtime. So say in the case of this act, we're going to say 3 o'clock in the morning. If the system calculates that they won't get back to the base for that time, it will add on the extra expense to cover hotels and B&Bs, and they're going to say that they're looking for an extra 40 euros per person. So in a case like this, how this would work is the system will calculate what time the gig finishes at, how long it takes you to do your takedown, and how long it takes you to travel back to your base. And if when they combine all of that, the time you return to your base is later than this time, then these costs will be applied. So the next section we're going to look at is payment. Can you issue invoices or receipts? In the case of this band, they can. Overtime rate. So we've already established that we will play for longer than our standard gig time. Where we do, we charge an extra 100 euros per hour or part thereof. A late gig surcharge. Where this applies is if a gig starts after a particular time at night, do you charge a premium for it? So we'll say in the case of this band, they're going to charge an extra 50 euros for gigs that start after, we'll say 11 o'clock at night. In terms of a PA system discount, this band's not too fond of humping gear. So if the person who's booking them has a PA system that they can use, they'll actually provide a discount. So we'll say they provide a discount of 50 euros. You can ignore this last one here, accept agency bookings. It's something that we're working on. Which brings us to the last section, instant bookings. GizaGig allows your act to accept bookings in one of 2 ways, automatically or manually. When you accept instant bookings, gigs are confirmed as soon as the booker completes the booking process. Then you and your act members will receive an email and text message with all of the gig details and the confirmation that you have been booked, and you don't need to do anything else. Where you don't accept instant bookings and someone tries to book you, you'll still receive the email and the SMS, but this time you'll be asked to confirm or reject the gig. As a system, we want to make it easy and fast for people to book acts like you. So we encourage acts to accept instant bookings by giving them higher public ratings and positioning them further up the list of search results. Also, with non-instant bookings, you run the risk of missing out because you only have a 24-hour window in which to accept booking requests. Just an important note about choosing instant bookings. We don't want you to receive bookings for times when you're not available, so it's very important that you keep your GizaGig calendar and availability up to date. You can see how to do this in another video. Let's look at adding the pricing for specific types of gigs. So we'll start with pubs and other venues. And when we say other venues, we mean the likes of cafes, restaurants, that type of thing. So the first field we can ignore because we don't have any other rates in. The next two fields relate to the specific gig rates. So for a standard gig rate, this is a general week throughout the year where there's nothing special happening through it. And you have a choice. You can apply the same rate to every day of the week, or you can apply a different rate to each day of the week, which is what we're going to do. So we'll say in the case of this band, it's $2.50 on Monday, $2.50 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I'll leave blank, and I'm going to come back to that. $3.50 Friday, Saturday, and $300 on a Sunday. The reason that I've left Thursday blank is this act does not accept bookings on a Thursday. So if you don't put a rate in for a specific day, you will not come up where people are searching for an event that they want to book for that day. Let's move on then to holiday rates. So these are specific occasions around Christmas, etc., bank holidays. Again, you can set a fixed rate to cover all holidays, or you can differ by occasion. So we'll say in the case of Valentine's Day, we've got a premium for that. St. Patrick's Day, Good Friday, Easter Sunday. If you're based in Northern Ireland and apply a premium for the 12th of July, you put that in there. Christmas Eve, we're going to put a premium in for that. Christmas Day, just as with the Thursday above, this band does not want to receive bookings for Christmas Day, so we leave that blank. St. Stephen's Day, there's a premium. New Year's Eve. And the day before bank holidays. So this basically covers every other special occasion and holiday that's not covered by these. So we're going to charge a premium for those as well. Oh, not so much. So that's the fees that we want to charge for each of the gigs. But we now need to figure out how we're going to actually get paid for them. You can see that there's 4 payment methods. The first two, if you choose either of these, it means that you want to get paid at the gig. If you choose electronic transfer, which is the 2 below, it means that you're happy to get paid after the gig. You have to choose one of them at least, and whichever one you choose, you can set it as the default. This last section is something we're working on, so you can ignore that for the moment. So I'll save that and we'll move on to our next one. We're a 3-piece band and we don't do wedding ceremonies, so I'm going to skip that one. So I'm going to move on to wedding pre-receptions. So a wedding pre-reception, we charge the exact same as we charge for pubs. So I'll just select that. And you can see that everything pre-populates as it did for the pubs, with the exception of when you expect payment. In the case of this, we're going to say we want to get paid at the gig. So that's going to bring up how we want to get paid, and we want to get paid by cash. So we also do wedding receptions. So we'll click on wedding receptions. This is not the same as any other type of gig, so we're not going to choose from the drop down. So we're going to say, in terms of a standard week of the year, we just have a fixed price of €1,000. But when it comes to holiday rates, we do have different rates. So I'm going to put these in here again. So that's going to be, I'll just go down through all of these. We won't play on Christmas Day. And again, because we didn't use the rates that are applied somewhere else, we need to put in our expected method of payment. So we want to be paid at the gig and we want to get cash payment for that. So if we look to the next type of events, so wedding day afters, we do that. And we're just going to charge the same as we do for pubs and other venues. So you can see everything pre-populates. And we need to select our payment method. So again, this is at the gig and it's cash. We're going to say we don't do private events, so we don't do house parties, we don't do birthday parties, retirements, or anything like that. So I'm going to leave that blank, so we won't come up in searches for those type of events. But we do corporate events. So we're going to say other rates as per any other type of gig. Yes, they're as per wedding reception. So we'll check that, and again, you can see everything's pre-populated. We'll select or expect our payment. So we want to get paid 1 month. No, we'll say we want to get paid at the gig, and we'll accept cash or check. And we'll click save. And that is how you enter your gig info and rates for your act.